Hi, Joe Cerrone.
Al Rosen.
Welcome to our weekly Zoom meeting for CAD 136, Advanced AutoCAD for Interior Design.
Ladies and gentlemen, how are you today? Hope everybody had a nice New Year's Eve. Welcome to our class, Skills of Mine. Right now you see on the screen, you'll see Lab 1. It says three-dimensional AutoCAD Chapter 14. As you see, there's our four little picture frames up over there. First one is over here. It says it's looking at all of the views of our drawings that we're currently using. We're making on two-dimensional and three-dimensional shapes. And right below it, you'll see the front, top, side, isometrics. So if you didn't know how it looks, this we're going to use it also.
That's right. And so we're picking up where we left off from the basic AutoCAD for Interior Design course. And so we covered the first 10 to 12 chapters. And the next component is to start creating models and learning 3D. So the textbook does a really great job of kind of laying out basic foundations for 3D. And how long have we been teaching these 3D courses, Al?
Let's see. I think it's like 12, 14 years we've been doing the interior design course. We've been working together since, I think, since 1990, something like that.
So we've got a long history of kind of teaching the modeling aspect. And so that's sort of what we're looking to do, is kind of build those skills. So let's talk about the syllabus and outline of topics, Al. I'm going to go and click on content.
Yep.
And then if we click on the syllabus, you can view the syllabus right here, or we can download it. I usually like to download them and then open them.
And we're going to see the PDF of it. You also have the Microsoft Word, but a lot of people don't have Word on their computer, but they can't open PDF, so we always make both of them. I hope everybody's able to download the software. If not, please email us so Joe and myself can show you how to do it, or send you to somebody that can help you as quick as they can.
That's right. And so in a pandemic environment, we're delivering everything using the internet. Best way to catch us is with these A Rosen at d2l.oakton.edu and my email as well.
And you see this is a basic form that if you've taken a course over at Oakton Community College, these are the things that are shown over here. 2 books and topics we have. Most of the topics are going to be seen in D12. Method instructions are our videos online, person to person, like you say, right there in front of us. Joe and I like to talk to the students and make sure the students understand we're live, we're not persons, just made up persons. You can see also here course books. We have 2 of them looking over here. Now it says AutoCAD 2014 Interior Design course. Now you can take the 2014 if you can get that if you want to, all the way up into 2015. That's fine. Both of them work just fine. It's just a little bit off one or the other one. And the other one is going to be AutoCAD Architectural 2018. Now that book is going to be used with AutoCAD Architectural itself. So you need 2 softwares this semester. First semester is regular AutoCAD, we're going to be doing half the class with, and the second half is AutoCAD Architectural.
Right. And so there's a number of really good projects in the interior design and space planning book. And so we kind of build off of those and then build up these automated skills with architecture. So it's pretty straightforward. If you do need any additional support, Oakton is a safe place. And so you can reach out to Al and I if you do need anything. Let's take a look at the outline of topics.
Fantastic.
I haven't figured out how to control my browser history yet.
That's okay. We're human. That's why we get this problem sometimes.
I think they just goofed me up just to keep me buying software. So, excuse me, outline of topics.
And today you can see a 3D AutoCAD, Chapter 14, Exercise 14-1, drawing solids.
Right. And so we're going to stay on chapter 14 for the first couple of weeks and basically pull in these 3D skills that we want to be able to groom in the students so that as we start to model things like these conference rooms, students will have a good understanding of how to create these models. And then we have a number of different projects. We have a large floor plan project with this bank assembly. And so if we come and take a look at it, we'll start off with projects where we'll just create primitives. And so when we look at what we're going to be covering here,
we're going to have some fun doing this stuff. Because what we're looking for, Joe and myself are looking for, is build up on that to make your furniture, cabinets, and whatever else you might want to do as a specialized area. We know there's a lot of them out there that will give you and show you where they are, but then you might have to do some special work, and that's what 3D comes together.
right? And so it's a pretty straightforward outline of topics. Like Al was saying, we'll go through and we'll do regular AutoCAD for the first half of the course. Spring break is in mid-March. We'll have a midterm, and then we'll take on this project where we're working on this bank floor plan and be able to create models for that. All right, so that's the outline of topics. Let's go back and take a look at.
And also, well, by the way, we're flexible, so we're going to look at this class and see what you want to really get out of it. And we want to balance it out. So if you want to do more of this or more of that, we're flexible doing that. We want to make sure you get the best education possible. So what you're looking for.
So that's the outline of topics in the syllabus. If we start to dive in, the AutoCAD software, you should have that from last semester. If not, here's the instructions for how to download that. If you don't have the textbook yet, we have a digital version in the D2L. And you can download chapter 14, take a look at that. If you don't see 14, you have to hit the load more button. And so sometimes you'll be like, oh, you didn't put that in there, Joe. No, we did. It's right here. And so you can just go and click on that and download that and open it.
And if you're like me sometimes, here it is right here, but Joe can go back to content real quick for one moment, please. Go up on top, please, at 14. There's 14 shows. Found, there it is, chapter 14. That's what we're going to do today. And move up a little bit, just a little bit. No, move the cursor up. There we go. You'll see it says, this takes you to chapter 14 in the book. So if you want to, just want to click on that area. It automatically goes right to it. We're trying to make it as easy and briefly quick for you.
Right. So Al does a lot of the D2L and he builds in the course shell. From a standpoint of the assignments will be put into the Dropbox. Chapter 14, we'll start with that due date will be February 11th, and we'll do the projects that are outlined in the main splash page. And then we'll go and we'll back up to chapter 3 and we'll model these conference rooms using the techniques that we pulled up in chapter 14. And then we'll go into chapter 15, which is advanced 3D modeling. And so we're going to spend a lot of time in the basic modeling using 3D with the AutoCAD for interior design textbook.
Using just straight AutoCAD, by the way.
Right. So let's get started then. Let's take a look at chapter 14, exercises 14, part 1 and part 5. Now, I went through and did some of the work for this preliminarily. So if we go to the content tab, and then we look at chapter 14, the instructions are to work on the chapter exercises part 1 through 5. And then we have these 3 labs. And these are a couple of them that Al and I used to use for when we taught the advanced AutoCAD for 3D, which is just building 3-dimensional skills. And this is one from the textbook. So the assignments are laid out here in the in the D2L. Here's lab 1. And it's just going to be creating this box. And then if we come back here to chapter 14, we have a video on how to do the labs from the textbook. Now, if we look at these, let's look at the textbook and then let's go back to it. So we have 3 labs and the labs are right here, 1, 2, and 3. And then we want to do the exercises in the textbook. So let's look at the textbook. So chapter 14, and I'm not sure how to get rid of this thing on the side here. Let me see if I can use a different browser.
Why don't you use the other screen? So
Here we go. Can you see it now just with the one, right?
beautiful. You're doing a great job.
All right, so chapter 14 objectives are to use the 3D workspace to create solids and basically to draw primitives, boxes, spheres, wedges, cones, toruses, and then to go through these different viewing options, draw extruded solids and revolve solids. And so this part we'll start to work on today, because as we start to go into this list of objectives, the skills kind of build on each other. So as we look at the chapter, when we look at AutoCAD as creating 3D models, a very basic understanding is to use what they call primitives. Primitives being things like squares, rectangles, circles, and then we turn those into models. And so we have a box, a cone, a cylinder, a helix. We have all these different shapes that we can create. And then there's other techniques which will take those shapes and then do things like extrude and revolve. So think of when you were a kid and you were starting to play with clay, how you would make things out of Play-Doh. Similar concepts where we'll extrude them or press them and pull them into shapes. And then we'll look at how to change those shapes with things like Boolean modeling, which allows you to subtract and create and build the models. We'll be working with the user coordinate system, and it's called a dynamic UCS, which kind of will get into how you manipulate objects in 3D. And we'll look at the different viewing angles. This is a little bit old school. Now you can just click into the corner and you set it up as an isometric, and you don't have to know that it's 315 and 30 degrees in the old school way of setting things. They get rid of the numbers, and so they make things very icon orientated, like using this view cube. So in the beginning of the test, or in the beginning of the chapter, it talks a lot about what you're going to do, and then we'll get into exercise 14-1, and that's what kind of guides us through the first part of the course. And so we'll look at drawing primitive solids, and we'll draw these different primitive solids. And so it talks us through starting up and creating a new exercise for architectural drawing and being able to set up and draw a cube. So back in D2L, outline of topics in chapter 14, I've created a video for it. And so if we go here to 14 and we click on video exercise and we click on 14-1, exercise 14-1, drawing primitive solids by Joe Cerrone from Advanced AutoCAD for Interior Design. We're going to take a look at how to create these different shapes and how the textbook off. So we already have the video for you embedded in there, so there's no sense to make it into an entirely new video. And I can just kind of fast forward through it. Here we are showing you how to make cubes.
They go over X, Y, and Z coordinates. X, Y we used last semester in our basics. When you're using Z coordinates, as you can see what's happening, is pulling it or press pulling it or extruding that object to a height or angle that you want to.
So I walked you through how to create different solid primitives as per the book. And so that's the basic first part of the assignments. If I bail out of this,
And that's a great creative, by the way, Joe.
Thanks. And we go over to AutoCAD. This is basically our primitive solids. And the way we would run this project would be, we go into D2L, we go to our table of contents, and this is in the video as well. And we have title blocks. And so Al has listed out these templates, architectural templates, and we can go and download a template. We can open that file. And this is just telling us that we're using AutoCAD. And so we'll get into model space here, but if I click on the tabs, it's the same layout that we used in 134. Come back here to model space. And then if I go and I switch the workspace over to 3D modeling, and I change my perspective to southeast isometric or any isometric, we can start to model these different parts. And so the book has us go through and create these different boxes. And I can change the visual style here to conceptual. Again, creating a box. Creating a cylinder. If we want, we can change the colors. I like to enable the menu bar. And then I like to use toolbars. So I'll say tools, toolbars, AutoCAD. I like to have the properties toolbar on because this gray color is just not enough of a palette to work off of. So if I want to make a different color cone, I can go and I can select that. So the first exercises in chapter 14 are really quite basic. And as we go through and work with them, we want to start to get an understanding of how 3D works and how these different primitive commands are set up. So if I switch back over here to the outline for the course, we create spheres, wedges, cones, cylinders, toruses, and then we go into extruding solids. And so when we start to work with extruding solids, we can start to work with different things like different shapes. And so if we go into our CAD system here, and then I open up another file here, we can look at things like revolves and extrusions where I can take these different shapes and one thing that I could do would be to extrude it. And so if I extrude a shape, I can select the object to extrude, hit enter, and then I can pull that up or press that down. When we extrude something, if we click on it and right click and look at the quick properties, we'll notice that it is a surface. And so we talk about the differences between surfaces and solids. And the difference between surfaces and solids is that these objects need to be joined before they're extruded. If it extrudes separate things like arcs, they're extruded as surfaces. But if I go through and I region the object and then hit enter, you'll notice that it fills in. And then when I extrude it, it appears to be solid, and it is. If I click on it and go to a quick properties, you'll see that it's a 3D solid. And so we go through those activities, and then we can do things like be able to do processes where if I put a sphere on the center of this, and so if I draw a sphere and I enable my object snaps, and I'm going to go to a quadrant, we can then do these different Boolean operations like union or subtract. And so we have these different solids editing. So I'm going to say subtract. Sometimes I have a difficult time recognizing the icons because I keep changing them, but I believe subtract is over there, where we select the larger shape, hit enter, and then we take the smaller one from it. And so we can do these different Boolean type operations where we can subtract one solid from another. And then if I back ourselves up here a little bit, we go through the textbook and do things like revolves. And so we start off with extrusions and then we go into revolves. To revolve an object or a shape, we would select it, hit enter, and then using my object snaps, select the axis of rotation, and then we can rotate these different objects. And so I can rotate that 90 degrees. And so that's the way these projects are laid out. And if we go back to the D2L, that's basically how we went through and did these projects. We can draw this shape, create a region out of it, and then press pull it or extrude it. And I demonstrate that in the video. We can also go through and do a poly edit and join and create shapes like this as well. So these are laid out for you in the videos. And so if we come back here to D2L and then we go to our chapter 14, we have videos, part 1, here's part 2. And in part 2, I outline how to create these different extrusions. And then lastly, we have the third video, which goes through kind of similar to what I was just talking about with the revolves. So that's chapter 14. And that's our basic outline of topics. In our next video, we'll create videos of how to do the top, front, and right side for this cube. And we'll post that in the announcements. And we'll also go through and show how to do a revolve. And then how to take these different primitives and to put them together, kind of like this snow cone exercise. With that, that kind of gets us to our 20 minutes of introductory video. We find that when they go farther than that, I'm going to admit somebody into the room right now, that they start to get a little bit long. So, Al, is there anything that we want to say in wrapping up our first introductory video?
No, I think that's it. I think maybe we should stop right now and talk to Martha, see what she wants to do.
Okay, I'm going to stop this video and then we'll pick up student questions.